Welcome to a football show, Victory Monday edition. One of us, Zach, is live from the pharmacy in East Nashville, of course, after a Titans win, sort of, over the Washington Commanders. My name is Braden, and I am somewhere along the Atlantic seaboard. Zach, how are you, sir? Happy Victory Monday, sir.
It is a literal Victory Monday in more ways than one. Alabama won. University of Tennessee won in convincing fashion and is continuing week in and week out to prove me right. And the Tennessee Titans, of course, won. We will not be talking about the Memphis game today.
Oh, no, we can avoid that. We can avoid that. Of course, lots of stuff to do today on the show. The Tennessee Titans do win, and we will celebrate. There are things that are good about this team that it's important for us to celebrate. Take time, take a few minutes to say, look, this is happening, this is good. This is happening, this is good. There's also plenty of things to be concerned about as well. If you'll notice, I am not sitting at my house or at the pharmacy. Zach is live at the pharmacy, of course, in East Nashville, drinking. What are you drinking on there, big man?
The Oktoberfest, and I'm doing it in a Das Boot. I lucked out today. They accidentally poured an extra liter of beer, and so they brought it out to me in a Das Boot.
I'm drinking just a Modelo, just a regular old Modelo, no free shouts, of course. And I'm wearing my Mike Vrabel victory shirt from Stio, of course. Definitely a free shout. Love their gear. If you ever notice what Mike Vrabel is wearing at all of his press conferences, it is a company called Stio. So now let's do some paid shouts after the pharmacy, of course. If there's lots of people there behind you hanging out, having a great time. There's music going on. People are having burgers and beers. There's a soda.
This may be the biggest crowd yet. It may not look like it from the camera angle because we're closer in on me, but there's a lot of people here.
It is because I am not there that people decided to come out and hang out with you. That is exactly what it is. I have the unfortunate struggle of being in this beach community here for the show today.
Hard life.
Listen, the struggle is real. And of course, so make sure you swing by the pharmacy, man. Great place to take the kids, lunch, after work, whatever, less than $50. You can get out of there with a whole mess of food, brats and beers. We had brats and beers yesterday for my daughter's birthday. Happy birthday to my little kid. Happy birthday, little lady. So again, didn't get a chance to watch.
She's definitely watching this on the beach, right? Like
yes,
she's gonna definitely hear that you say happy birthday.
In between the snacks and the sand, absolutely zero live streaming Titans content from the 6-year-old today. But we'll get to a lot of Titan stuff to do. We'll get to some college football as well. As you said, the Vols continue to prove you right. Alabama survives. They won, though. They survived. So we'll get to all of that. A lot of stuff to do. And, of course, special thanks to all of our great and amazing, wonderful title sponsors. We mentioned the pharmacy, but also the Kingston Group, buildkg.com. If you want to build one of these magical places, just call the Kingston Group. They can take care of you, of course. Buildkg.com, Nashville's locally owned custom home and remodeling firm. And, of course, Weiss Liquors, almost 100 years, family owned and operated in East Nashville, right there on Gallatin Pike. And just Uber Eats, booze right to your house. You just search Weiss Liquors. They can send you a Das Boot. They can send you some Modelo. They can send you some beer right to your house in as quickly as 20 minutes, Zach.
Well, they drive so you can drink.
Yes, that is what they do. All right, let's get into the Titans' win over the Commanders. Yes, it's an NFC team. It's not a divisional game. It's not a game that's going to affect the wild card, but it is critical that they get their third consecutive win. I want to make sure for 3 straight Victory Mondays, there's lots of things that we need to discuss that aren't necessarily great about this Titans team. However, we don't want to miss the forest through the trees. They got a W. That's 3 straight wins. Has the chart been corrected? Has the course been corrected?
I think the only person who you can say has gotten better week in and week out is Derrick Henry. And if you're giving out game balls, is Derrick Henry, Jeffrey Simmons, Tierre Tart, obviously with leading the team in pass breakups, and then Christian Fulton, who played a really great game yesterday. And they kept Terry McLaurin in check, except for everybody else forgot that Diami Brown may be actually, athletic and competent. But other than that, they did a good job of following our plan for success. When we were talking about building a win on Thursday, the defense did a good job outside of one big play, did a good job of being in position, preventing the big plays. And they just didn't follow what we said on offense. In fact, they went the complete opposite of what we said to do on offense. But I don't want to get into the negatives. I do want to talk about Derrick Henry, and I do want to talk about the defensive performances that continue to be awesome.
And if you want to get into the notifications, you have questions or comments for Zach to answer, of course, make sure you jump in there. Turn on all the notifications for YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all that great stuff. Make sure you're listening to all the Broadway Sports Media pods, 440 pods. Sign up for an insider account as well. Stoney Keeley already chiming in here, of course, of the So Bros Network. Stock up on the run defense in the last 2 games. And I know you were very high on the same game plan for this team against the Commanders as it was going to be against Matt Ryan and the Colts. And it turned out the defensive line, something we can actually celebrate and say positively, considering who's been out. And considering, again, let's be very clear, 5 starters again. We were optimistic on Thursday that Monty Hooker was going to play, doesn't play. Still a lot of guys out and rested.
Let's not forget, Ugo Amadi didn't play either.
I think this coaching staff looked at this game and they realized it was an NFC opponent and they said, we got a bye week coming up. Let's get 2 bye weeks if we can, see if we can squeeze out a win. And in that sense, I think they did a really good job on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I think the defense, outside of Caleb Farley's big play, you can't walk away with many complaints outside of what happens in a normal football game, right? In fact, this defense performed better than what you see other defenses perform on a routine basis on Sundays. You know, the Commanders were 6 heading into this game. They were 6 in the NFL in third down conversion rate. Entering week 5, they were converting them at 43.9%. They went 1-11 versus Tennessee Titans. That is insane. And the only one that they converted was 28 seconds left into the game. That's how good this third down defense has turned around from 2 years ago. And that is huge for this team that plays these games unnecessarily, in some cases, in close margin victories. It's ridiculous how good this defense is and how bad this offense is compared to what we talked about, how this all was just 2 seasons ago.
Well, and they say all the time that defense is less predictable year over year. When you start talking about DVOA and the statistical data, it's like it's less. It's harder to predict exactly what a defense is going to look like. Whereas an offense, you see, Mahomes and so on and so forth, or the Bills and their offense, and it's a lot easier to sort of consistently maintain that year over year. But it has been a freaking roller coaster for the balance on this team. Are you concerned about the yardage totals? I'm not a big yardage guy. I'm a yards per play guy. I'm a yards per attempt guy. I'm all about efficiency. I don't, if Matt Ryan throws for 352 because they're trailing the whole game, I don't think that's a factor. How do you feel about the fact that they've now allowed basically a lot of big plays against the Giants? Josh Allen is Josh Allen, but then you also go Carr, Ryan, Wentz, just chucking it all over the place.
I guess where it comes down to me is where I'm most concerned, disappointed in this defensive backfield, specifically the cornerback room, is the amount of explosive plays allowed. Not necessarily all of them turn in touchdowns, but they do allow a lot of explosive plays. But where are the pass breakups? Where's the physical defensive players that Christian Fulton and Roger McCreary, and even to a lesser extent, Caleb Farley, showed in their college careers, and what Christian Fulton has shown in his professional career? Where are the pass breakups? And where are the interceptions? The interceptions came from Tierre Tart, Amani Hooker, David Long, and Kevin Byard.
That's a big play by
Two of those people should not have be tied for the interception of on this team.
Like, Landon Montgomery, Tierre Tart, DB1.
Yeah, I mean that's what I put out a tweet. I put out a tweet yesterday that Tierre Tart and Jeffrey Simmons are the best cornerbacks on this team.
He has Jeffrey Simmons, a lot of pass breakups. Affects the quarterback. Match the hand, right? Match the hand.
Right. I mean, he had to go down, Braden, and tackle. I can't remember if it was a running back or a wide receiver, but he had to run and chase down 25 yards down the field. Jeffrey Simmons did to get that guy. Because let me say something. This team is lacking in the fundamentals at this moment, and that is a very unfavorable thing. Yeah. The penalties are a killer. Then you got this missed tackling epidemic that they have going on, specifically yesterday, but it's happened week 1 and week 2. It's ridiculous.
Against Jacksonville last year, he was like bitching all the time about how poorly they tackled. Let me ask you this, because first of all, Tierre Tart's interception. If you're going to lead the team with that particular play, I'm okay with that particular play, because that play was just freaking insane. Let me ask you this, because again, celebrating daughter's birthday, no coverage of Titans games in Charleston, South Carolina. There's none. You can't get it. It was red zone, so I saw like Farley get beat. I saw Nick Westbrook-Akine's big play. I saw the highlight package afterward, but I didn't see it in real time. So I'm curious watching every single second. I've read a lot and I've studied the box score and I kind of know what happened and I as much as I can. I'm curious. Do you come away with the W saying, all right, they were injured on defense. The offensive line is a major issue, which you're going to get to. Just broadly, Zach, do you come away from the game thinking, all right, does it look better in real time or did it look worse in real time relative to like me consuming just statistical analysis and recaps and commentary about it? Was it worse than what I'm seeing, or is it we should be grateful you got a W, it's the NFL, move on and survive?
Well, I guess it depends on who you ask, but you're asking me. And so I'm going to say this. This was the worst win that the Titans have had out of the last 3 wins. And I've been down on both these wins, lesser than the Colts win. But this was an ugly, lucky, sloppy win. And it's mainly because of the offense. I don't want to take anything away from the defense, but you got to remember, interceptions, first off, turnovers in general are such a volatile stat year after year, but also game to game. You can't just rely on a turnover to save your ass in the final, few seconds of the game. But on top of that, if you were facing probably about 24 other quarterbacks that played on Sunday that weren't Carson Wentz, the Titans are probably losing that game. And that's not because of the lack of effort on the defense. It's because the final nail in the coffin was a turnover, and it was preceding that some bad, questionable decisions and throws by Carson Wentz that other quarterbacks probably wouldn't make. And to be honest, where he was going with the ball doesn't even make sense from the perspective of the play call itself. So they're really kind of listen. I get it. I hate when fans hate it when someone says that a team was lucky, but you got to
they hate it so bad.
But you got to take a step away from it and look how poor the offensive game plan was, and how the general outside of Derrick Henry, the whole offense was, and how lucky they were to face Carson Wentz of all quarterbacks in that game.
Okay, all right. So a couple more real quickly. I know you want to talk Fulton. But any more positives? Because again, we got a lot of stuff to get to with the Titans offensive line, the play calling. Now here's a positive. They scored a point in the second half.
They did. They scored a touchdown in the second half.
And it mattered, and it was critical.
It was critical because that was the key, because you're talking about a lead, I believe at the half it was 14-10, if I'm not mistaken, going into the half. So you only had a 4-point lead. And you know that the Redskins, who are one of the best second half teams, is going to score points. Sorry, the Commanders. And then on top of that, James Lofton did it during the broadcast yesterday, so it's okay. When the professionals who get paid millions of dollars, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars, make the mistake, I can make the mistake.
Yes.
On top of that, you're one of the worst. There's nothing's changed, right? I mean, this is still a defensive-led team. This is still an offense that is built on the back of Derrick Henry, who is I've been putting it off because I want to see more, and I want to see more, and I want to see more. Derrick Henry is back. Maybe the big play hasn't been able to get there yet. The big play is coming. Derrick Henry when you go around and look at the league, Derrick Henry, I would say maybe there's 2 running backs who play with more fire and more energy than Derrick Henry is, but that's really close. And I think those guys are Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. They are fighting for every yard that they can and punching people in the mouth every chance they get. And Derrick Henry is too. Derrick Henry is better than both those guys. It takes both of them to equal Derrick Henry.
Yeah. No, it's funny you bring that up because obviously we were able to watch the Packers game on Sunday here on vacation, but like I see so much of the Titans and Packers overlapping because the skill weapons are still figuring it out. Some of them are injured. Some of them are new. Some of them are rookies. They're not 100%. You've got a veteran quarterback, and I'm not comparing Tannehill to Rodgers, so don't at me. But you're built on the back of the guys who only feel like like the defense is very good for Green Bay. Defense is pretty good for Titans. Titans played better yesterday. What's interesting is that I think you're right, and we talked about this before the show. Derrick Henry's the only dude, and I don't know if we're ready to go into the negatives yet because I wanted
We'll go in. I mean, Derrick
Okay.
Henry was my last positive out of this game.
He's the only guy that looks like there's a sense, and I don't like sense of urgency, such a cliche, but Dillon and Jones are the two guys that look like they are driving the emotional, train for the Packers. Aaron Rodgers looks like he's just walking around out there sometimes, super lethargic. I see Derrick Henry he's the same thing. Offensive line problem for Green Bay, offensive line problem for the Titans. It feels like Derrick Henry is the only guy like stirring shit up for folks. And,
Right.
and Jones and Dillon are the two that do that for Green Bay. And it doesn't even look like Aaron Rodgers is doing that right now for Green Bay. I think Tannehill might actually be doing a better job of lighting a fire under his team than Aaron Rodgers is right now.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think Aaron Rodgers, while more talented than Ryan Tannehill, is definitely like he's got that little checking out of the season kind of deal to him. Like he's not checking out of the season. He's like he can tell when he's just can't expect too much from his wide receiving core.
And he gets all frustrated and
yeah. He retreats into himself.
What's going on with his hair, by the way, too? Like,
it's ridiculous.
What is the
I
problem?
mean, he's a balding samurai with that bun back there.
All right, you want to go negative here? You want to go to the negatives?
I want to talk about this oomph. Like, I feel like Derrick Henry is the only person playing with a fire lit under his ass, like you were talking about. There is a play yesterday that really just sticks out to me, and it was a plus play, right? Because I think it was on first or second down, and Robert Woods gets a pass, and it goes for 8 yards. He could have gotten 2 more yards, at least the first, untouched and more, but he just kind of casually went out of bounds. And I watched the rest of the NFL slate on the afternoon games, and I watched the primetime game, and of course I watched, the London game, all these games, right? And I feel like there's no sense of, I don't want to say passion, because obviously they are passionate about football, but it's about fight. I don't feel like they have fight in them. And I think that Austin Hooper can't stay off the ground. He's rolling around with every catch he makes. I think Chig has some fight, but it seems like it's like catch the ball and I feel like they're too cautious when they have the ball. There's not guys that are fighting that extra yard. Corey Davis.
Is it the newness, you think? Like
I don't know. I don't know. Because you look around the league and you see players that are in new situations that don't care about that kind of stuff, right? I mean, Hayden Hurst, okay? Hayden Hurst went from the Bengals or went from the Ravens as an afterthought, goes to the Bengals. If you watched that game last night on Sunday night, the primetime game, he looked like a man possessed. And Hayden Hurst is no different than Austin Hooper, he is marginally better in my mind than
slightly younger.
Yeah. Like, to me, it's like none of these players are living up to their potential, or really, I don't know if it's a coaching thing. It's like, just get down. Don't make the mistake. Maybe they're overthinking it. But Corey Davis, A.J. Brown, Jonnu Smith,
dogs.
When those guys got the ball, it took 2 people to try to get them down. And that's what you see around the league. Devin Duvernay is going crazy. You see guys like Hollywood Brown, is one of the smallest wide receivers ever. It takes 2 or 3 guys to bring him down. Devontae Smith, who is also a twig. It takes 2 or 3 guys to get him down. All these players are fighting for these extra yards, even if it's 1 or 2. And I don't see that in this team from its pass catchers outside of Derrick Henry.
So Stoney says, any chance this is a byproduct of Vrabel's, quote, tight ship or do your job?
That's kind of, I don't know, but that's kind of what I feel.
Well, and Landon says as well, Henry, the past few weeks has looked like a man on the mission. Daniel says, I really don't think they game plan too much for this game. And that's unlikely, but clearly the value of this game, if you let all those guys rest for the bye week and get 2 bye weeks, that's clearly a strategy that they're deploying. But going back to the tight ship thing, so it's funny because Robert Woods, we talked about it last week, has said the same thing that A.J. Brown has said. He says it in a different, more politically kind of couched approach. I have talked to Austin Hooper multiple times about coming into the locker room, because what I'm fascinated by with Vrabel is learning why it has worked so far, like individually on a personal level. And so when I've talked to Hooper about this, he says, it's such a pleasure to be in here because I know exactly what is expected of me every day, every play. Here's the job, do your job. Here's the job, do your job. And it seems like he really likes that type of structure. I think Robert Woods has cited openly that he came to the Titans because he likes the professionalism and that the team is close to being a winner. And so how can you blame that? Like, you're saying it's all just window dressing and that Mike Vrabel sold him a bill of goods when they brought those two guys in, or Robinson. That's hard to believe. But I will say this. I think Treylon Burks has that dog in him. I think he likes to finish runs. I think he likes to fall forward. I think sometimes he needs to look to get around guys maybe more. But do you think Burks has it at least? And maybe that's what they're missing, is that he's out and he's the big body physical guy that wants to do that?
I don't know. I look at it this way. You need when
That's what Clint just said, yeah.
I look at it this way. When you are having a rough time with the offensive line as they are, every yard matters. When you are not scoring in the second half at a high rate, every yard matters. And these pass catchers are not treating it like every yard matters. What matters is they caught the ball, they did what they were supposed to do, and we're going to get out of bounds, or we're just going to fall down and not break a tackle. I know Robert Woods from watching games of his, both of them Buffalo and in LA. He could break tackles. Why he's not doing it, I can't tell you.
Yeah.
But that is these guys that they have can physically do it. I know that Chick can do it. But obviously, if you get the ball in a situation, especially yesterday when your quarterback is taking the hits that he has taken and the Titans staff is not helping him out at all in that situation, when you get the ball in your hands, you need to be showing some passion and be fighting in some fight. And these guys, these pass catchers, are not showing fight whatsoever. And to be honest, I'm don't know what the problem is, but I'm sick of it.
Okay, that's fair. That's a valid criticism. I will say, and Chris says this as well, they can't protect. Plus, they can't protect to get it to the guy if they did have him, which is a valid complaint, because that leads to the biggest issue with the team right now, which we've said now for 8 months was going to be the offensive line. And then I saw the news. I don't remember when I saw the news. When did it break that Nate Davis wasn't going to play?
That morning.
That morning. So yeah. I think we were watching the Packers game, sitting around, probably giving birthday gifts to my daughter. And I saw the news and I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Like the they're down to one great offensive lineman. No disrespect to Ben Jones. He's a really nice player. But they're down to the one great guy that does this every time he does his job, and you can count on him to do his job. And now he's out too. This offensive, here's the problem with offensive lines in football. You can find and develop receivers. You can scheme guys open. You can find even running backs. They did it last year without Derrick Henry. This goes to every team in the league. College, pro, high school, Pop Warner, doesn't matter. If you cannot block, you do not have an offensive line. You can't do anything else, and you can't solve the problem. It is not a position group that you can fix throughout the course of a season the way you can do other things. And I don't know, again, didn't get to scout Dylan Radins, who apparently played better, I guess, at right guard. Your thoughts on the offensive line? You studied it. You saw 5 new bodies. With the, if you would have told me this was going to be the lineup going into the season, what, Daly, Brewer, Jones, Radins, rookie? Like, what do you do with that group? You can't fix it.
It's terrible. And they did them no favors, Braden, because, Mike Vrabel did a little lie today in his press conference on Monday.
Ooh.
He said that they gave them, they gave Daly a lot of help, and they gave their offensive linemen a lot of help, alluding to the fact that they had chippers in there. Here's the pass blocking snaps that were charted by PFF for each tight end and the fullback. 4 for Swain, 4 for Carter, 1 for Hooper, 1 for Chig, and I believe it was 1 for Rader. I forgot to memorize Raiders. But Kevin Rader. Yeah, Kevin Rader. Nobody really realizes whenever he's on the field. That's how bad he is. Okay,
maybe that's
out of 33 pass blocking snaps, they did not help this offensive line. And on top of that, not only did they not have an extra blocker in there to help these offensive linemen, like they said they did, they called 16.1% of play action passes. The best pass plays that they had were play action passes.
Wait, they did the whole game?
The whole game, 16.1%. They had 4 play action attempts. 4. It is utterly insane. Is gross negligence. It's coaching malpractice at the highest order. And, we talk about halftime adjustments, and I did not know this. But in today's NFL, there's no such thing as halftime adjustments, according to Coach Mack. Coach Mack says because it's in-game adjustments. You are adjusting as the game goes along. It's not necessarily going at halftime. Those Microsoft Surface tablets that Tom Brady likes to throw in a hissy fit, those are used for in-game adjustments to make adjustments quicker. And this is what Coach Mack said. Used to, you'd have the printout, then you'd have someone run down. That's why it would pretty much take till halftime to make an adjustment. So this staff is even worse than I thought. Like he kind of gave that out there because he thought he was going to make. Maybe this was a Coach Mack's attention, but I believe is on Buck's show, and Buck kind of made it seem like people shouldn't be so condemnable of halftime adjustments. Well, that's even worse. That this team is not making adjustments, even though they have all the information readily available to them after a drive. This is pathetic coaching at the highest level on the offensive side of the ball. And I am embarrassed and disgusted, and I feel really bad for Ryan Tannehill, who is still getting the brunt of the criticism. And I will say this.
Well, that makes no sense.
And I will say this. Ryan Tannehill did hold on to the ball too long in crucial situations, more so than he has all year.
Okay.
But 15 quarterback hits, 5 sacks, ridiculous. And that is because this team was terrible on the offensive line. This win is just further evidence that their future in the NFL for this season is unsustainable. This is an unsustainable offense as the weeks go on.
Do you think that there are any, because I tend to agree that you can't really, again, with the exception of health, maybe NPF getting a little bit better because he's a rookie. Davis is back out there with Jones and Brewer. Then they start to solve some of the problems by scheming. Maybe Burks is back out there.
The only way to solve Brewer's issues is send his ass to an all-you-can-eat buffet, and he can't fucking leave until he's 300 pounds because he's not a starting guard. And Dennis Daly's not a starting left tackle. I mean, that's your two biggest issues right there. Dylan Radins, they have to find a way to get him on the team just from that. He's just not as bad as those guys.
So here, I guess if you're putting it all at the feet of the coaches and it's coaching malpractice,
well, it's not all, but I would say the strategy yesterday is.
So let's say hypothetically, okay, Ryan Tannehill doesn't hold on to the ball too long. Derrick Henry's still running with the mission. Treylon Burks is now healthy with a healthy Kyle Phillips, and Robert Woods fights for extra yards. Let's just magically solve those problems, right? Let's just say all that stuff is fine. And they figure it out, and by week 8, 9, 10, or whatever, all those pieces are in place and doing their jobs. What is the right scheme or decision or strategy from the coaching staff that you want to see that solves the offensive line issue?
Well, I think play action is a big thing. Let me look at it this way, Braden, or tell you about this. The Nick Westbrook-Akine play where he caught it 61 yards down the field, all through the air, right? A huge play. It's inflated Ryan Tannehill's numbers when you look at efficiency stats. Huge play.
But a critical play for the
critical
game.
Play. But let's break down this play design real quick. 3 people went out for a route. Derrick Henry, Chigokonkwo, and Nick Westbrook-Akine. Nick Westbrook-Akine was the only wide receiver on the field for this play. And he went deep. Chig went really deep. And then Derrick Henry went out of the flat. Your blockers are your 5 offensive linemen. And then you have, I believe, is Jeff Swaim and Torrey Carter, who they all whiffed. They only had to block 4 people. 7 guys had to block 4 people. And 2 guys came through on the sack. That's a play call that shouldn't even be in a playbook, to be honest with you. And just because Nick Westbrook is your lone, and this is not to diss NWI. NWI is your lone wide receiver, and he's going deep. Your safety valve is Derrick Henry, and then Chigokonkwo. You're coming out of a 1 wide receiver, 2 tight end set with a running back there and a fullback, and that's your play design. That was pure luck and guts by Ryan Tannehill to get that ball out, maneuver around the pocket, and to get that ball out to Nick Westbrook, who made an amazing catch.
Made a great play. Yeah.
That's not a standard play in the NFL that's going to work every time. And so when you have that play design,
Yeah.
I don't understand why we're still here.
Yeah.
I don't understand why Todd Downey still has a job. I just can't get. I just cannot get behind
it. All comes back. It all comes back around. Because here's really what they should be doing: sending Jeff Swaim on seam routes. Just like probably into double coverage and just let him go make plays. Like that's really the solution, is to let Jeff Swaim go. You got to let your playmakers make plays.
Yeah, playmakers make plays.
You're done with your boot there, by the way?
Getting close.
You done with Das Boot? You can order.
And to be honest, I slow played it before we went on air, so this is like all during the show.
I just opened another one here. By the way, Zach's sitting there, of course, at the pharmacy right there on McFerrin Avenue in East Nashville. The pharmacy beer garden and burger parlor. You can get brats and tots and burgers. They got all kinds of cool stuff. You can get them on Uber as well if you want, which you can also get Weiss Liquors at Uber, on Uber as well. Uber Eats, Weiss Liquors, booze right to your house in as little as 20 minutes. Of course, you got the pharmacy that will deliver food. They'd love you to come hang out in that beautiful garden back there behind Zach right now that you can see if you're watching, of course, on the Facebook and the YouTube. Make sure you turn on all the notifications. It seems like there's a lot of nice, lovely folks out there hanging out.
You have to say the fashion is a good B+.
Good B+.
Good B+.
I will say I was out on the beach just a little while ago with oh, never mind. I'm not going to say it. The fashion was B+ here at the Isle of Palms as well. There's no question about that. Lots of wildlife, although there actually is some storm damage, which is very interesting. Like the entire beach is like halfway washed away. It's really crazy because the hurricane came through. So, all right. Brought to you, of course, by the Kingston Group as well, a football show. Zach Lyons, Braden Gall here. And if you want any work done on your house, or you have to make a big decision about your house or a future house, make sure you reach out to them. BuildKG.com is the website. The Kingston Group, Nashville's locally owned custom home and remodeling firm. So 3 locally owned companies bringing you this product every single Monday and Thursday. The Pharmacy, Kingston Group, and Weiss Liquors. You want to yell about Caleb Farley real fast before we move on?
Well, I hate it for Caleb Farley just because his athleticism is the only thing he could have hung his hat on, and I don't know what the issue is. I don't know if it's his choice to play so far off his guy, or if it's his choice to. I just don't get it. 9 snaps. I don't know if we'll ever know really the sample size of Caleb Farley, but maybe the sample size we've seen is enough. Like at this point, maybe we all need to accept it. It seems like Mike has now gone from 2 weeks ago to saying we got to give him a chance to 2 weeks now. He wants him thrown into the sun, never wants to see him again.
You're talking about Mike Herndon of
Herndon,
the Football and Other Efforts podcast, which you can listen to.
He's still clinging to the fact that Jeff Swaim is a good blocker, even though Jeff Swaim was terrible. Make sure you check out Football and Other Efforts podcast featuring Zach Lyons and Mike Herndon everywhere podcasts are sold. Apparently, everywhere they're sold, even if they're free, they're sold for free. Guess what? They're still sold.
Still sold. Or well, Zach is selling you some shit. That's for sure.
Yeah,
no question.
Still got to check it out, right? You got to check it out at the cash register.
That's true. So here's the thing about Farley that I noticed in particular on that play, and it has always been my concern about him because I've always trusted like the physical skills, kind of like Mike. I kind of trust the physical skills with him, and we've talked about this last week. There could be a more conducive NFL role for him if he was Micah Hyde, let's say. If he was going to run that sort of, and I don't want to say Dane Cruikshank, but I mean like a true versatile weapon that can play in the slot, man up on a tight end. That's maybe, but again, it's a hybrid safety corner linebacker combination, because on that particular play, when he turns his hips and tries to run, he just doesn't have the burst. He doesn't have that thing that you like. McCreary has it. McCreary has that quick twitch ability to go from position A to position B and get there as fast as he wants to get there. And with Farley, the problem is that it's that short space agility, quick twitch thing that I don't think I see when I see him play. And that I think he's still a talented player that can be productive. I just think they're not putting him in the roles right now that he's capable of executing. Does that make sense?
Well, it does. Yes and no, because at some point, don't you think the team would have thought about that?
I mean, sure. I guess they get paid millions of dollars.
I'm
just sitting here. You know,
Mike brought up that maybe he's still recovering from injury and all this stuff, and that's all well and good. But at some point, how long does it take you with a couple of games and a couple of snaps under your belt to get back to where you need to be? Or at least to show flashes. I mean, he was supposed to be an elite athletic talent, and yesterday, even with like a 10-yard cushion, he wasn't even showing anywhere near being an above average. So, like, if you're elite athletically and you get injured, shouldn't you still be above average? You shouldn't be below average. The gap for an injury recovery shouldn't be that long. The levels should not be that wide.
I think the two things that we are reaching the point on that no longer count are he never played corner. He didn't play corner that much in college, right? That's a narrative, and that he's recovering from injury. I think we've reached the point now where maybe the injury thing, because again, everyone's screaming right now. Well, Lawan and Dupree needed 6 to 8 weeks of like. Maybe we are going a little early on this with him for a couple of weeks, but the line is not too far away, though, Zach. Even if you are the most ardent Farley supporter, you have to acknowledge that within the next 2 to 3 weeks, you need to see something more from him. And otherwise, he is a depth piece right now. Like, he's just a depth guy on the team, and maybe he grows into something down the road, but that's where he is. So do you have any, speaking of growth over the next 2 to 3 weeks, what are the fixes? What do you expect this team to do in the bye week? What do you want to see them accomplish in their time off?
Well, at first, they're going to have to fix the offensive line, and it's going to result in basically throwing away the 5th round pick in a different sense that you already threw it away, giving it to Carolina for Dennis Daly. Now you're going to have to throw it away even further into the depths of hell because you're going to have to bench Dennis Daly. Does that mean that Dylan Radins is over there on the left tackle side?
Man.
I don't know. But at this point, something has to happen at that left side, whether that's Aaron Brewer is gone. And I know everybody's going to say, oh, Aaron Brewer is a good run blocker. Well, who gives a flying fuck if Aaron Brewer is a good run blocker or not? At this point, run blocking isn't the issue. It's not the issue over on the right side. It's not the issue over the left side. It's not the issue in the middle. In fact, they're not running over to the left side anyway. So his run blocking really doesn't fucking matter at this point. So at this point, you need pass protection if you want to have any chance, any small chance as it may be, to be successful in the postseason or successful long term. You have to be good at pass protection, and they are terrible at pass protection on the left side. Listen, Daly is worse than Brewer, but is Dylan Radins and Daly a better combo than Dylan Radins and Brewer? I don't know, but they have to fix it. This is the time to say, listen, we screwed up trading a 5th round pick, which is ultimately, this has been the most disastrous trade the Tennessee Titans have made. I'm including Julio Jones. I'm including everything.
Where would they be right now if they didn't have him the last 3 games, though? They've won all 3.
There are other guys, though. Like, you could have traded for Isaiah Wynn, right? Like, Isaiah Wynn was supposedly on the trading block. You're good friends with the Patriots. I mean, the palm trees, there has got to be someone better than a 5th round pick. That's the thing. Is like, maybe a 6th round pick nets you someone that is a little bit better than Dennis Daly, but a little bit is all that matters. You just got to get a little bit better. You have to get to NFL average in pass protection.
Landon says Brewer needs some pharmacy burgers.
For real. Brewer needs to be here. He needs to get a beer gut on him from Weiss Slickers and then come over here and do the same over at pharmacy, eat burgers, worse, French fries, tater tots. It doesn't matter.
There you go. Wes says, when does Racy and Molden get back? And I think, again, all of this is post-bye week. This is all part of the bye week fixes, the reinforcements. We talked about this last week. Reinforcements are coming.
So hopefully Racy comes back and that fix your wide receiver issues until Burks comes back, which then will fix your wide receiver issues. Like, you got to kind of wait. You could go sign Will Fuller. I mean, at this point, you've already completed 5 games. You get Will Fuller for 8 games. It's still better than what you got. And let me say something. You've already got a relationship with the Carolina Panthers, trading with them because you traded for that loser Dennis Daly, who, by the way, snuck out and left the post-game press conferences and ducked everybody with the quickness. Probably didn't even get his eye makeup off. That's how quick.
That's bush
pathetic.
Yeah.
And trade for DJ Moore. Listen, J. Rob's not that great with first round.
That's a big move.
Yeah. Listen, John Robinson's not that great with first round picks anyway. I don't care if he trades away first round pick for DJ Moore, even if it's not worth it. Like, he's
really good at trading, though. Generally, outside of the Dennis Daly move, the
Jimmy Johnson scale does not say that this is a good move. I don't care.
Yeah,
trade for DJ Moore. You could still probably trade for Isaiah Wynn at this point, but then now you're trading away even more draft picks for an offensive tackle position. Yep. At this point, when they go into free agency next year, they actually have to tackle this offensive tackle issue with some conviction. Jamarco Jones is not great. Kendall Lamb, not great. You got to start going in with your head out your ass and do it and do a better job.
I think you're right. They're doing the nibbling around the edges thing, which normally I'm okay with if you've got starting stability. But when you lose Lawan, his future's unknown. You're playing a rookie. I agree. And attack it multiple ways. Make an acquisition, draft somebody, sign somebody. Bring in some competition. If you're all about the fight and you're all about the competition, bring all that stuff in. People are chiming in here with all these names, and it's like
Listen, the only thing that really matters and the only thing that could be really fixed is your offensive line. And that could be fixed either by leaps and bounds, by signing Eric Flowers and trading for Isaiah Wynn. You fix your whole offensive line.
Yeah.
Or just find a spot for Dylan Radins and hope that LaRaven Clark, which is Spanish for the Raven Clark, is able to find a spot on this offensive line. He's something. Anything's better than Dennis Staley and Aaron Brewer coming out of the bye, because then you pretty much said, our way works. We are committed to these two guys, and we don't care what you say, because they don't.
Yeah.
This Titans team only cares about a win. They don't care how ugly it is, and they do not care that it's probably not sustainable as long as they get the W. They just don't care.
That joke was as bad as my New York Mets pitching staff over the weekend. So RIP, T's and P's to my New York Mets folks. I knew this was going to happen. All right, some college football here. Special thanks to the pharmacy, the Kingston Group, Weiss Liquors. Make sure you check them all out. Locally owned and operated. Alabama doesn't. What, you okay?
Well, it did this. It deletes stuff.
Well, that's the.
Well, I'll get it fixed. You just keep
here's
the
problem. Here's the problem. We didn't pay the hamsters very well, and so the hamster wheel stops running every now and then. The hamster wheel's not running very fast, and so sometimes.
Here's what I want to talk about.
All right, so we're going to go Vols before we go Bama here.
Yeah.
Real quickly to wrap up the show, because I got to get back to drinking on the beach with my kids, okay? So here's the deal. Tennessee, completely dominant down in Baton Rouge. It helps when you get a football off the face mask on the first play and you score a touchdown right away and you shut that crowd up. Nothing makes – so I have so many friends and family that were down there, and I cannot remember the last time I've seen people leave at the end of the third quarter in Tiger Stadium. That is what Hendon Hooker and Tennessee did to LSU. It was an incredible performance. The control of the offense. Here's the deal. We stopped in Asheville, North Carolina to stop this. I think this is parent of the year kind of material here. We stopped at a brewery in Asheville, North Carolina, planned the entire trip so we could stop and watch the second half and celebrate the Tennessee win in the mountains of East Tennessee / North Carolina. And
love it.
And we watched the entire second half, had some burgers. The kids had a great time, got to run around, use some energy. They got right back in the car and took a nap the rest of the way down through Columbia. Tennessee sets up itself for a huge game at home against Alabama this weekend. They got pressure on Jaden Daniels. Literally nothing you can say. No complaints about what this team did against LSU. It was complete domination.
It was awesome. So I went to a sports bar in Gallatin because I was doing some other errands, and I stopped off at the sports bar and I finished the whole game watching it, and it was filled with UT fans. And one guy, I was sitting at the bar and this guy says, "Hey, can I sit here?" I says, yeah. And I moved down. He said, "Well, you're not going to be able to see the big screen. It had one of those big, massive screens." And he goes, "You're not going to be able to see it." I said, "It's okay. I'm an Alabama fan." So I got some shit for that, but whatever. But I said, I am here to watch UT win, because there's nothing more than I hate than LSU and Texas A&M right now, even more than Auburn.
I love
so
that.
I'm here to watch them win and dominate, and they did, and good on UT. And I sent numerous texts preemptively setting myself up for an Alabama loss in hopes that it's an Alabama win, because then here's what I do.
Tennessee's not going to win.
Here's what I do. I say, "Oh man, I'm really nervous about this team," and luckily Bryce Young was held out, which we'll get to in a minute. But this UT game is really good, and I've been saying all offseason that I would not be surprised if UT were to beat Georgia. Well, obviously now they could beat Alabama, and I set this all up that way. When they win, and these UT fans are like, "Well, it's expected. It's Bama." So, well, I didn't think so.
Listen, you said they could
it's a
beat
long
Georgia.
Game.
I like the con artist inside of you is very, very talented. I appreciate that. Listen, the concerns about pressuring Hendon Hooker, they were answered, although Will Anderson's coming to town now.
Yeah.
Concerns about keeping a quarterback in the pocket and making sure he doesn't make a bunch of extra plays, handled. Bunch of sacks,
What
bunch of
about that
pressure.
8-minute drive they ended in a field goal? That is some good coaching.
Listen, there is zero. Like I want to have something to complain about, but there's nothing to complain
There's
about.
nothing. There's other than you hate that Hendon Hooker got hit and took that hit, and maybe a little iffy if he should have gone in right away. But overall,
Yep.
Coach Josh, and I even went back through one of Mike's tweets. Coach Josh,
youth pastor dad, Josh.
yeah,
Coach Josh.
youth pastor, coach, father, dad, Josh. I went back through one of Mike's tweets because there was a big to-do dust up between two other media entities, personalities, and about the Josh Heupel hire, and a lot of people were just like, initially when he was hired, they're like, oh, we're going to go 0-12, and oh, he sucks, and Butch Jones had a better resume, and all this stuff. And so I've retweeted a few of them. I just want to say, I've been on this train all offseason. I think UT can legit upset Georgia, and I'm very concerned that they're going to upset Alabama.
I think you should be concerned they can beat Alabama. I think this is the biggest third Saturday in October in 2 decades. And considering Alabama's struggles, which we can talk about, Alabama, they decide to not play Bryce Young, which I thought he was going to play. I was told he was going to play. He does not play. It's sloppy game. A&M has talent. They play up to Alabama. Give CBS credit for putting the game on in the prime time, even though we all thought it was a stupid idea. It turns out it wasn't. The play call at the final play of the game was the dumbest thing I've ever seen, but which is like all of Jimbo Fisher's entire coaching tenure at Texas A&M encapsulated into one play. And I did get to see all of this because we got into Charleston like right as the game was starting, and so we're watching, and I just to have that many turnovers, missed field goals, mistakes, sloppiness, and to still win and to pressure the hell out of the A&M defense, like they still are built in a way to get after Tennessee. But here's the difference: the road element of this is what, like, if you're talking Tennessee can beat Georgia or Bama has not been good on the road for a year and a half now. And Neyland Stadium is going to be a zoo. It is going to be total chaos. Nausea, anxiety is all back from the Florida game. In fact, it's worse now. Give everybody Dramamine because this place is going to be absolutely bonkers. I give Bama credit, actually, for winning the last 2 games without the best player in the country, basically. So I actually give them credit for it. They ran the ball like crazy. Jahmyr Gibbs was great. Like, I think we're setting ourselves up for a Heisman on Heisman caliber showdown in Neyland in front of 110. It's going to be freaking awesome.
It's going to be one of the best Alabama games outside of the championship games that you've seen in a while, with the hype around it and everything. And look, Alabama's strategy almost bit him in the ass because Milroe just had a tough go of it. And look, he's a freshman. Like, I don't think that this is an indictment on Milroe or an indictment on their strategy. This was the right strategy. Sit Bryce Young, even though Bryce Young wanted to come in so bad in that fourth quarter and put this game away. But it is okay because the big game is coming up, and you need Bryce Young to be 100%. Right strategy, almost wrong time. Oh, my God. They are so lucky.
Yeah.
That Max Johnson wasn't the quarterback, I feel like, in this game. And maybe it's a different tale of the tape. Who knows? Different situations, different decisions are made. I feel like this is one of those instances where Nick Saban's strategy was right, but it barely worked out for them.
No, I agree. And here's what's even more interesting. And this kind of goes for Georgia, too. The back month and a half of the schedule for both these teams is looking a lot more difficult than we thought.
Right.
Like, Kentucky's not as good. They didn't have their star quarterback, and they lost, and Shane Beamer trolled like crazy. It was great. But Mississippi State, Georgia, and Alabama have to play both of them. Tennessee, Georgia has to play Alabama. Georgia and Alabama both have to play Tennessee and Mississippi State. They got to play Bama's got to play at LSU. There's just more tough games in the final month and a half for both of these teams than I think we expected, maybe. And I think that's going to lead to some drama, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait for. But to your
we
point,
talked about it all year, though, that this was going to be the most exciting SEC season, and so far, it is by far the best, most competitive, exciting SEC season we've seen in a long time.
Who would
We
have?
were just constantly right.
We're
I mean,
just
it's
so
just
right.
unbelievable.
God, we're just so right all the time. I will say, who knew that the path to the hearts and minds of all of college football went through the state of Mississippi.
Oh my gosh! I mean, you're not mistaken. Mississippi, a football state. I mean,
It
like,
is.
give me.
It is.
I
Kansas,
mean,
Kansas and Mississippi, both football states now, and you got to
it's
look at. Way to go,
it's
Ole Miss.
incredible.
Listen,
It's
Vandy. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just, one of the tweets when Josh Heupel got hired, Coach Josh got hired, and then, in Lane Kiffin's first year, everybody was trying to get him booted from Ole Miss. Like, he wanted to leave Ole Miss so bad. All the, angry UT emo fans that can't let Lane Kiffin go. They were all projecting, saying that Lane Kiffin was going to leave. Why would he leave? First off, you got the Grove and the contents of the Grove for a guy like Lane Kiffin with his history. Yeah. Secondly, last year is like he was trying to do it through the air. This year he's doing it through the run.
Oh, running game's
he's being successful.
Yeah.
And it's the same. What the fuck? Well, look at that stink bug right there.
Hey, stink bugs are wonderful. They're totally nice.
No,
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah.
The defense is pretty solid, although they gave up 4 straight scoring drives to Vanderbilt. The defense is solid. The running game is excellent. The quarterback is coming around. Their schedule is going to get much harder. Mississippi State dominates Arkansas. No KJ Jefferson, a huge factor there. So the state of Mississippi is loaded right now, and Alabama has to play both of them. Georgia has to play at Mississippi
They
State.
went and dominated teams that they're supposed to dominate, right?
Yeah,
like, that's what we always say about the Tennessee Titans, is that they oftentimes don't go and dominate the whole matchup in the full game against a lesser opponent. And Ole Miss and Mississippi State have done that. And really, and I still believe this to this day, Mississippi State should be undefeated. That was just a weird game. And Ole Miss, though,
my bull puppies.
Yeah, let me say this: Ole Miss is putting on a show. They're doing it through the run game and defense, which is so unlike Lane Kiffin, right? Out of all the things that are Lane Kiffin, that is not how you win games when you look back at Lane Kiffin histories as a team. And he's doing it that way. He's here for the long haul because, in my mind, I'm looking at this with all these transfers.
Unless he's an NFL coach next year.
Because what did we say about this? We said that they had the most transfers in the SEC over the offseason. We said, how can Lane Kiffin's path to success is to get these transfers to buy in the culture quickly and to put them to use. And that's what he's doing, and he's doing it at a high level. These are two teams that if you're facing them down the stretch, I'm out. Like, I do not want to face these teams down the stretch. And I know Alabama has to face Mississippi State, which Nick Saban has lost to Mississippi State a lot more than he should.
Also, Ole Miss's best team they've ever played this year is Kentucky. So let's just be that's not a bad football team.
Yeah.
But Ole Miss still has not played any of the tough games on their schedule. So they're very good. Lane's very good. I think Mississippi State's the more complete team, but my God, that Egg Bowl, folks, is going to be insane.
Oh, it could be awesome.
And
must-see TV.
All these teams in the second tier now, right? Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Tennessee, they're all going to play Bama and Georgia, and that is what's going to make for a super fun final month of the season. I got to get back to the beach, Zach. What else we got to talk about here, man? I got stuff to do. I got some beer to drink. I got some oysters to shuck. I got shit to do, man.
Are we going to surprise everybody with who's going to be on Thursday? Because since you will not be on, or you want to make an announcement?
I'm actually taking the day off on Thursday, but we will have a far more talented, far smarter host filling in for me. You guys are going to have a great show. It's going to be awesome. 1 p.m., of course, turn on the notifications. Make sure you do all the great stuff on Twitter and Facebook. Share the show. Tell somebody about it. Of course, we really, really appreciate it. And support local businesses. Pharmacy, Kingston Group, Weiss Liquors, Broadway Sports Media, 440 Sports. It's just one big happy family, Zach. Even on a team that we don't necessarily love what we see, it's still a victory. And it's still a great place to go have a beer and a burger at lunch on a Monday at 1 o'clock over there at the pharmacy. So make sure you go swing by. Check out the pharmacy, of course, right there on McFerrin Avenue. Kingston Group, BuildKG.com, Weiss Liquors, Uber Eats, the booze right to your house. Uber Eats, search Weiss Liquors, have the booze delivered right to your house in as little as 20 minutes.
They drive so you can drink.
Awesome. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Share the product. Tell everybody about it. We'll be back on Thursday. For Zach, I'm Braden. That's been a football show.